Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unraveling a genuinely terrifying and profoundly tragic piece of folklore centered around the village of Birampur. Now, if you've been tracking the dark events unfolding in this village lately, you already know the air is just thick with fear, and the shadows, well, they seem to be hiding something ancient. We're going to look closely at the dark entities known as the Nishir Molo. But to truly understand the sheer horror of what haunts Birampur today, we have to peel back the layers of history and uncover a story of desperate heroism that was twisted into an eternal, living nightmare.
Okay, let's dive into this. The central mystery that grips Birampur right now is the terrifying presence of the Nishir Molo. Today, literally just mentioning their name is enough to make the villagers lock their doors. These are spectral figures who wander the village carrying a supernatural coffin, abducting the living and leaving a trail of absolute dread in their wake. But why are they here? What is tying these coffin-carrying spirits to this specific village? And why do they strike with such relentless terror? Well, to answer that, we have to leave the present day behind and jump back 4 centuries.
Part 1. The Witch's Bloody Demand. Birampur, 1626.
So, in the year 1626, Birampur was a thriving kingdom under the rule of King Vishwajit. And it's here, in the royal courts and the dense surrounding forests, that the root of this terrifying curse was planted. It wasn't a curse born out of nowhere either. It was born from a horrific demand made by someone the king trusted most. Let's walk through exactly how this escalated. First, a devastating epidemic strikes the kingdom. While frantically seeking a solution, King Vishwajit gets stranded in a forest where he meets a stunningly beautiful woman named Damayanti. He is instantly captivated, marries her, and makes her his queen. Meanwhile, the king's daughter, the princess, actually manages to cure the deadly plague using a miraculous nectar known as the Mrityunjay Amrit. The kingdom is saved, but right at this incredible moment of triumph, Damayanti rapidly and terrifyingly ages into an old woman. It's then she reveals her true, horrifying identity. She's a 100-year-old witch, a Dayan. To survive and regain her youth, she tells the king she needs to bathe in the blood of 11 corpses by the night of Ekadashi. And the king, completely under her spell, agrees to do the unthinkable. He orders his guards to steal the corpses of his own people.
10. That is the horrifying number of bodies the king's guards successfully stole. Now, what's really interesting and deeply tragic is the cultural implication here. By stealing these corpses, the king was actively denying the dead their final sacred cremation rites. And without these rites, the souls of the departed are denied salvation or moksha. They are trapped. The king was literally sacrificing the eternal peace of his subjects just to preserve the youth of his witch queen. As you can imagine, the village was completely devastated, drowning in both grief and absolute outrage.
Part 2. Rise of the Secret Pallbearers.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the villagers fought back. They weren't going to simply let their loved ones be desecrated. They realized they couldn't fight the king's massive army with weapons, so they retaliated with a desperate secret plan. This marks their incredible transition from silent victims to courageous rebels. Step 1. Whenever someone died, the family had to completely hide their mourning. No crying, no public grief, absolutely nothing that would alert the king's spies. Step 2. They appointed 4 incredibly brave men from the village. Step 3. These 4 men would take the corpse in the dead of night, smuggle it deep into the forest, and perform a quiet, hidden cremation. They risked the wrath of the king just to ensure their loved ones achieved salvation.
This brings us to the actual name of these entities. Molo is a term meaning pallbearers, the people who carry the deceased. Because they were forced to operate secretly in the Nishi, which translates to the night, they became known as the Nishir Molo, the night pallbearers. The absolute most important takeaway here is this. Originally, the Nishir Molo were not monsters. They were heroes. I mean, they were brave men risking their lives to protect the dignity of the dead. It's a massive, heartbreaking contrast to the terrifying reputation they hold today.
Part 3. A tragic betrayal and murder. So for 15 days, not a single death was reported in the village. King Vishwajit, knowing he was being outsmarted and statistically something was completely off, grew furious. To ensure Damayanti got her final 11th corpse, he deployed secret spies to watch Birampur's every move from the shadows. The trap was set. The climax of this historical tragedy went down on a dark Saturday night. The 4 Nishir Molos carrying out their sacred duty were slipping through the shadows with a coffin.
But the king's spies were waiting. In a brutal, sudden ambush, the royal guards descended upon the 4 defenseless pallbearers. The guards slaughtered the 4 heroes right there in the dark, and the corpse they were so bravely trying to protect, the guards stole it. It became the 11th corpse delivered to Damayanti. With its blood, her horrific ritual was finally complete, and she regained her youthful, beautiful avatar. The betrayal was absolute. The heroes were dead, the witch was restored, and the king celebrated his sick victory.
Part 4. The Eternal Coffin Curse. But the story doesn't end with their murder in 1626. That singular, brutal event, being murdered while performing a sacred, high-stakes duty, triggered a massive supernatural transition. We're moving now from the historical tragedy right back to the terrifying present. How did these 4 brave men become monsters? So the crucial point is captured perfectly in a quote from the Tantric Maharaj, who arrived in Birampur to help the villagers. He states it so simply: they don't know they are dead. Because they died such a sudden, violent death while hyper-focused on their critical mission, their spirits became trapped in a tragic loop. For 400 years, they have been repeating that final night. They still think they are trying to secretly transport a body to the cremation grounds.
The contrast here is incredibly tragic. In 1626, they were brave men carrying the dead to salvation. Today, they are cursed spirits carrying the living to their doom. But why the living? Well, because in their confused, trapped state, they mistake anyone they encounter in the night for the king's guards who murdered them. They literally think you are an enemy trying to stop their sacred mission. So to protect their coffin, they abduct you. Their present-day horror is entirely fueled by their past trauma.
To summarize the mechanics of this hunting, the Nishir Molo wander specifically every Saturday night, mirroring the exact night of their ambush. They carry a supernatural coffin, forever trying to finish the job they started 4 centuries ago. And their hostility comes from a tragic misunderstanding. They mistake the living for the king's treacherous guards. Understanding this makes them less like mindless monsters and way more like deeply tragic figures caught in an eternal nightmare.
But honestly, this explanation only scratches the surface. We know how the Nishir Molo were created, sure, but what happened to King Vishwajit? What was the ultimate fate of the witch Damayanti? And what role did the princess play after curing the epidemic? According to the Tantric Maharaj, all those answers are locked inside an ancient text called the Birampur Purana, hidden somewhere in the old palace 400 years ago. The Nishir Molo have awakened, but what other ancient horrors are waiting to be uncovered in those pages? That is definitely something you'll want to think about as the dark mysteries of Birampur continue to unfold.